Highest values possible, 31, 32 degrees, not out of the question. There you go, back to you.
Wow, thank you very much indeed. Louise, lovely.
Now, an announcement on whether to reduce the 2-metre rule for England will be made next week.
And any change would be welcomed by most of the hospitality industry, who've been warning that many pubs and restaurants won't survive unless changes are made soon.
So let's see what the science says first of all, shall we? The 2-metre rule isn't universal and countries have adopted differing social distancing measures. Here's a couple of examples.
The World Health Organization recommends keeping a distance of at least 1 metre. That's what they're saying. Countries like China and France have followed that advice. Others like Austria, Germany, Greece and Italy are at 1.5 metres. And here in the UK, along with Spain and Canada, we're going with 2 metres.
Well, joining us now is Peter Borg-Neal, Chief Executive of Oakman Inns, and Nisha Katona, founder of the restaurant chain Mowgli Street Food. Morning, both of you. I imagine this is encouraging news, if indeed it's confirmed next week. Peter first.
Very much so. I think it's vital. If they don't make those changes, there'll be far fewer places that will be able to open. And even those that will open may well find out they just can't make money and they can't survive. So it really is a very, very important change.
Nisha, for you as well, in terms of 2 metres, if it goes down to 1 metre or even 1.5 metres, how could that change things? How could that improve things?
Well, I'll tell you, if we're 2 metres, our revenue will be down to about 40%, 30, 40%. And in restaurants, because of the way the margins work, you're at 60% before you're even cleaning your own face. So to open at 2 metres is almost economic folly. Reduction of that 2 metres is hope, and it is oxygen for hospitality. Hospitality that employs over 3 million people in this country. So if there's a reduction, suddenly you're making enough money to service your rents, all the other, you know, the costs incumbent on a restaurant. And the important thing is we need the government to be confident that at the moment we have people gathering, they're missing their family, they're missing their friends, they're gathering on hills with bottles of goodness knows what. Give that task to us. We are consummate professionals in marshalling the way that people interact. We have guidelines, we have strict enforcement of that within restaurants. It's a safe place. So the balancing act that the government is conducting between economy and health, happily, that health element is softening. Now we can start to bring the economy alive and allow us to do that by reducing 2 metres.
Although we heard this morning, Nisha, from a scientist, a virus expert, saying he was really nervous about the 2 metres being reduced. He said that it's a risky point in the pandemic. It's too much too soon.
Do you know, for every scientist that says that, there will be scientists that don't. And what we have to do is trust government to look at the medical evidence. I'm not a medic. Let's trust the scientists, and it's a balancing act. You know, there is there is a right at some point when the balancing act tips in favour of actually we can relax this. So the point at which, you know, the Prime Minister comes to the podium and says restaurants are open, you are safe in restaurants, that needs to be founded with good medical evidence. So I can't go behind the philosophies of government internally that lead to the point of them coming to that podium scientifically. It needs to be founded on good science. But the point at which the government do that, we should have faith in the fact that we are experts at implementing what the government is saying in terms of those COVID secure guidelines.
Peter, you've got about 25 pubs in the southeast of England. I know you've been planning for both 1 metre and 2 metre distancing within those. So give us an idea, if we were coming in for a pint, what it's going to look like, what it's going to feel like as we head indoors.
We've worked hard to make it feel as normal as possible. You don't want to lose the pub atmosphere, but there will be things like, for example, on arrival, you'll be asked to sanitise your hands. You'll then be taken to a table. We won't initially be allowing any vertical drinking. People will be asked to order using an app. They'll be asked to use common sense when moving from, let's say, their table to the loos. There'll be sanitisation stations outside and inside the loos. We will have a single entrance and a single exit. So we'll be taking the precautions we can. And the other thing we'll be doing is between tables that are close together, we'll be having glass screening to provide a kind of physical barrier between the two. So, you know, we believe that 1 metre is entirely safe, and we believe we can support that by some other measures. And I'm also convinced that, and many scientists are, the key thing is regular hand washing and keeping places very clean, keeping surfaces clean. There's no way that Nisha or I or any of our colleagues would want to open unless we were confident that we can keep people safe. And we've worked hard preparing for this. We can definitely keep people safe at 1 metre and hopefully in due course prove that even that can be relaxed further.
I love the concept of vertical drinking, by the way. Hanging out at the bar, basically, is what you're saying is not going to happen, at least at first. Now, I don't want to pick holes in everything, but I'm trying to think of realistic scenarios. And just say, for example, you're sitting in your family of 4 or your household of 6 at a table, and a couple of friends or neighbours come in and walk over and, they edge closer to the table. They might pull up a chair. Do you then feel it's your role to police that and say, would you mind moving away, please?
I think in a gentle fashion. Now, all the evidence says it's sustained face-to-face contact for a long period of time. That's even, of course, presuming that there's anyone present who's ill. But I think, a short conversation, allowing people just to very quickly catch up would be okay. You then quietly go over and sort of just gently move people on. It's about just communicating, being sensible, reminding people of matters. And don't forget, the public have got their heads around this. They've learned this. And I think there'll be an awful lot of self-policing. If we have someone behaving extremely badly, then, yeah, we would intervene. But I think if they're just stopping to say hello on the way to the table, I think that's kind of okay, and the science supports that.
Nisha, you employ 500 people across your restaurants. What are you thinking about in terms of their livelihoods as you go through these possible changes and the different variables about opening and operating?
It's very simple and almost binary at the moment with the 2 metre rule. We haven't had to lose a single employee yet, but we will. There will then be a list of employees that we have to go through. We want to keep those people off universal credit. I want to get people off furlough. I want to start paying my people again. In that, it is so very important, and it's all predicated on that distancing. So it is really that binary. Bring that down. We can keep hold of all of those jobs. We can rotor it in a way that we will keep that employment force together and intact. And there is real hope in that. The worst thing that could happen for my teams that I want to protect is a second wave. So it isn't trite that there are these guidelines. We will defend those guidelines, frankly, with our life. At the moment, you're about to lose 30 or 40% of the lights on your high street. You see it every day. There are casualties. If we get that second wave, you would just end up with an enormous toothless grin on the high street. And with those shutters go my jobs. I want to protect that. So if somebody sidles up to a table, they will be sent back. There will be a robust enforcement because we don't want that second peak.
Nisha, I sense your enthusiasm and your positivity and your determination to go with this. But do you worry that even without a second wave, people might just not want to go out in the same way, spend money in the same way, socialise in the same way, that we might be looking at a very different economy and way of life?
We have to think that, but can I tell you what is great solace is when, the shops open, there are queues around the block. What is also of great solace is that we have opened our booking lines, and what we find is so fascinating. People, rather than socialising at home, because you can understand that there's that level of sort of residual anxiety, they are choosing to do group bookings in the restaurant. So what I know is that there is an appetite. There is an appetite to eat differently, in so much actually as that the groups are slightly bigger, they're family units, and there is an increased frequency. They are using the restaurants in the way that they would use their own home dining rooms. That is real hope, not just for hospitality, but the 3 million plus jobs that are dependent on it. And actually, the re-emergence and resurrection of our high streets, the high streets and what is on the high streets, the retail and the restaurants, that's why we work, that's why we live, that's the cohesion in society. We take our family and our friends to these places. We have to preserve that. They have to have some faith that we are safe places to eat. And the point at which the government can stand there and say, safe, it must really be safe. And we must endorse that.
And same question to you, Peter. Are your patrons banging on the door, desperate to be let in?
Absolutely. We announced on Wednesday evening that we're definitely opening on the 4th of July. We've swapped with bookings. We've got 2 places fully booked already. And we had over 1,000 bookings by lunchtime on the first day. My colleagues at Peach Pubs, I spoke to them this morning, they're finding the same thing. So there's a definite public appetite to return and to get out and get life back to normal. So we're super, super confident that the public are behind us and they're very keen to come out. And I think they trust us. They know that we're expert on risk analysis, we're expert in food hygiene, health and safety, fire. They're going to trust us to deal with this in the right way.
Public appetite. I see what you did there. Thank you both very much indeed.
Yeah, good luck.
For your time.
Cheers,
Peter
Nisha.
and Nisha there, representing the pub and restaurant trade.
We should be vertical.